Everyone in business likes to talk about scale, but if you ask 10 different people what that actually means, you'll likely get 10 different answers. For tradies, scaling isn't always about getting bigger, about getting better. For example, we've got a client who does bathroom renovations, and their version of scale was and is, I want to be doing less 30 grand bathrooms and more 50 grand and above bathrooms. So their version means we want to be doing less, but more of a better quality. What you're going to learn in this video is three things primarily, and this is from experience, this is from being in the trenches. Like what scaling actual means without all the corporate, buzzwords that are associated with it. The three things that you'll need to get in place before you try to grow beyond the business of the size that you are today. And the three biggest mistakes that usually tradies run into when they try to scale too fast and how to avoid those. So by the end of this video, you're going to know whether you actually want to scale or you just want a better business. I'm Matt Jones. I'm the founder of Tradie Web Guys. We're a marketing agency built just for tradies and contractors. And I'm also the host of the SiteShed podcast, where over the years since 2016, we have recorded and backlogged over 500 episodes with experts helping trade businesses on the topic of business. The truth is I've seen plenty of tradies scale and end up with more stress, more overhead, less profit. So let's break it down properly. First of all, what scaling actually means. Let's debunk this a little bit. Most people think scaling means more staff, more revenue, more work, more jobs, whatever. But scaling really means this. It means that your results improve without your stress and your time going up at the same time. And that's an important thing to identify because I see a lot of trade businesses grow their business and they end up with more overheads, more problems, more responsibilities, and somehow less money in the bank. So if growth needs more of you at every step of the way, you're not really scaling, you're just getting busier. I'll give you a quick example. If you add 20% more work, but you need 20% more of your time, 20% more quoting, 20% more running around, it's not really scaling. It's just building a bigger version of the same kind of struggle that you're already in. So number two, why tradies hate the word scale? Let's be honest, most tradies and contractors don't really fully understand the word scale because it was never part of what you learned when you went through college or TAFE or whatever version of tertiary education you did to become your trade. And most of the people that are screaming scale online have never actually run jobs or managed staff or swung a hammer for that matter, dealt with customers, had cash flow stress. You know what I'm talking about, right? For tradies, scaling shouldn't mean growing for ego. It should mean about getting your life back or buying back some of your time, while the business grows. So the three things that we need to consider before we scale. Number one, we need to decide what you're actually scaling. The first thing that you've got to ask yourself is, well, what is this that we are scaling here? Because scale can mean totally different things, as we kind of discussed earlier. Scaling your profit, not the size of your team, scaling the team so that you can take on more work, scaling quality so that you can take on better jobs and you can do less of the lower quality jobs, scaling systems so you're not the only one holding everything together. More on that in a little bit. Most businesses break because they try to scale everything at the same time. For example, they're trying to hire, they're trying to run ads, they're trying to change pricing, add new services, expand their zone of operations in their area all at the same time. This really is not scaling, this is chaos. The second thing is your bottleneck typically is not leads, it's capacity. And this one's going to annoy some of you people, but we see this all the time in the trades when people come to us and they just say, we need more leads. But most of the time, more leads isn't the answer. More fulfillment is. In fact, we see this 100% of the time. We quickly resolve the lead issue. The next immediate constraint, again, that happens every time is fulfillment, the ability to deliver on more work. Scaling falls apart because of what happens after that inquiry comes in. The phone rings, nobody answers it. Quote takes a week, follow-up doesn't happen. Calendar is either non-existent or completely cooked. You're getting the wrong jobs booked in. All of your hot leads end up going cold. Marketing doesn't fix a messy operation. It just makes the mess louder. So before you spend more money trying to grow, you need to tighten up the basics. Speed to lead, quoting timeframes, follow-up process, clear pricing, clear job filtering, and of course the ability to service the leads. The third thing is scaling means that the owner has to change roles. And this is the part that no one really ever wants to hear. But if you want to scale past being a one-man show or being scaling past the business that you are, you cannot keep doing everything. And at some point, you either have to be the tradie or you've got to become the business owner. And that's what this looks like. Often, less on the tools, stronger leadership, better use of time and time allocation, more strategy and more reflection, less reacting and more responding, and more managing numbers and performance or reporting. Scaling fails when the business grows, but the leader doesn't. So the 3 risks of scaling, and this is a bit of a warning section, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Now, the risk number 1, you're scaling your overheads before you've started scaling your turnover. And what this looks like is this. You might hire too early. You might go out and buy a new truck or a new ute. You might get a new workshop. You might be adding non-revenue generating wage costs into your business, like top heavy. You are going to need to spend money. But don't spend it on the things that don't enable and facilitate the ability for you to acquire the things that we just mentioned. It's not about turnover, it's about what's left over. Don't spend money on dumb things. The second risk is that you hire too fast and your quality drops. And when quality drops, you end up with more callbacks, you end up with less reviews, and then the stress goes through the roof. So if you want to grow, you need standards, you need training, you need systems. Hire slow, fire fast. Make sure you have a rock solid process around this. If your recruitment process revolves around the ability for somebody to be able to fog a mirror, you're setting yourself up for a world of hurt. The next risk is that you become the bottleneck and you remain the bottleneck. This one's a little bit sneaky because you hire, you grow, you take on more jobs, but everything still needs you. You still do the pricing, the quoting, the approvals, the problem solving, the customer escalations, whatever. John C. Maxwell famously said, "Nothing of significance was ever achieved by an individual acting alone." So are you building a business or are you just creating a giant job for yourself? If this hits home and you want to hear how other tradies have tackled growth, I've linked a few ripping podcast episodes below. Episode 439 with Scott Irwin from the Network Plumbing Group in Australia is about pushing through the real challenges in home service. Episode 425 is with Tommy Howard in the US, who scaled from 1.5 million to 100 million in 12 years. And episode 422 with James Rolfe from MR Roads on how to build a road construction business into an absolute empire. And if you want help mapping this out for your business, that is what we do at Tradie Web Guys. We are not coaches, we're an agency that backs your growth. Start with an impact roadmap session where we can map out the next 12 months and what that should look like. We can set your targets, we can build a clear strategy that suits your numbers, your capacity, and your goals. All the links are in the comments. Catch you on the next one. Hey guys and girls, how would you like all of the value adds left behind from our podcast guest all put together in the one spot? We've pulled every tool together, every template, every resource shared on the show, and we've packed them all into the Tradie Academy. It's free to join and it's built by the team behind the Site Shed and Tradie Web Guys. Inside, you'll get marketing tips, business tools, and first access to future resources, all in one simple dashboard. Just head across to tradie.wiki/pod. That's tradie.wiki/pod. The link's in the episode description. And once again, you just log in once and then you're all set. And if you want to get notified of upcoming episodes, hit subscribe or follow.